Good afternoon, everyone. I am Belinda Cheeseborough, STEM Education Specialist at the National Museum of African American History and Culture. I'm here to share the stories of African Americans and the impacts they've had and continue to have on American culture because of their STEM contribution. Through the Window and Into the Mirror is a video conversation series about the experiences of African American STEM professionals today. This time around, we are focusing on innovation, advocacy, and advancement in the field of tech. During our sessions together, students will peer into the windows of their speakers' lives and learn from their lived experiences. They will also find parts of their culture and lifestyle mirrored in their stories. To everyone listening, it is our hope that you leave here with information, inspiration, and plans for action as you take your steps towards having careers in STEM. This program is generously supported by Dow. Now, let's meet our speakers. Khalil and Ahmed Abdullah have been playing games since the age of 3. They carried this passion into their adult lives and transformed it into a career. Shortly after college, they decided to form Decoy Games and enter the gaming industry. Relying on their foundations of being self taught, self funded, and self published developers, they built their inaugural game, Swimsanity, for the PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and Steam. Outside of development, Decoy Games is devoted to promoting innovation and inclusivity in the gaming industry. Welcome, Khalil and Ahmed. I'm so excited to speak with you today while engaging the teachers, students, and family of students watching this interview. Now, let's get on with the questions. So the first question I have is just tell us about your job, specifically where you work, what you do, and anything else you think is important for us to know.
Yeah, so I'm Khalil. That's my younger brother Ahmed. We're the co-founders and leads of Decoy Games. We're currently a Massachusetts-based company, but we work remotely. We're indie game studio. Make a lot of really cool games, and we have some really cool things coming out in the future as well.
Nothing much to add. I mean, Cool covered it all, but yeah, other co-founder, younger brother, excited to work on great games in the past, and now we're working on some cool stuff for you guys to see in the future. So I'm just excited to be a part of this webinar.
Yes, well, we're so glad to have you. So first off, let's dive back into your childhood. I'm curious about which game or games were your favorite to play while you were growing up for either of you or both of you, however you want to answer.
Yeah, there's so many favorite games. I've been playing since the original Nintendo, but I guess to point a couple out, I'd probably say Left 4 Dead 2, Perfect Dark. I love playing that. I love all kinds of JRPGs, specifically like the Tales of series, and I've also owned every NBA 2K outside of NBA 2K1. But I played all types of games.
Yeah, I play a lot of games too. I guess when we were younger, we played a lot of Bomberman. Was a big game. Classics like Mario. I play a lot of RPGs. I try to get to like a lot of single player experiences lately. I don't have as much time, so I'm playing stuff like The Last of Us, Spider-Man, God of War. Try to jump online with some Overwatch, Apex. But yeah, we play a lot of different games, so not much we don't touch.
Oh, that's really cool. I love that. I myself like RPGs a lot, especially like fantasy type RPGs. That's really cool.
Yes,
For sure, for sure.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know gaming lingo, RPG stands for role playing games.
there you go.
Living
don't
out
know,
your
now you
greatest
know.
fantasies. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so at what point while you're growing up did you decide that playing games wasn't enough, that you also wanted to try making games?
Yeah, I think we.
Uh,
You want to get
Go
that? Go on.
ahead.
Yeah, I think
I'll,
we.
I'll go. Yeah, so I feel like when growing up, one thing that kind of got us to make games without us even trying was we couldn't play games during the week during the school year. So that was like just a rule by our parents. So we got creative and decided to try to create the games we could play on the weekend. So we would create these paper prototypes of different games. So like we wanted to play Mario Kart. we would start putting together like a Mario Kart course and like create our own version of it. And little did we know that is a real way of designing games with paper prototype. We were just trying to kind of find a cheat to get to ourselves to enjoy games, but it ended up creating um, games like card games and different things that had our minds start thinking about game design. So that already, I think, from an early age, we always loved the creative part, and that translated into us just wanting to do that and create these games we loved playing when we were younger.
Oh, cool. Khalil, do you have anything to add onto that?
Yeah, I think also like as we got to college, just the hobby became a career. And when you love something so much, especially like going into college, you want to see how much you can continue that into your professional life. So, when we were going into college, we always knew that if we had a dream job, our end goal would be to be in the game industry in some shape or form.
That's really cool. So during your childhood and as you were growing up, did you have any role models or someone that you looked up to that whose guidance or example you followed to get where you are today? Would you mind telling us about this person and how they influenced you, if there was a person?
Yeah, I think from my side, our kind of come from a family of a lot of entrepreneurs. So even our grandparents who lived down south, they owned a convenience store. That was like a big neighborhood convenience store. My dad really got us into the mindset of becoming entrepreneurs. My sister actually sells jewelry. She has a jewelry business. So we come from a family of entrepreneurs. So this is something that we've always been kind of taught to do something on your own. And, even if you have to build it from the ground up, there's nothing wrong with that. So I think that standpoint, it's not necessarily game industry related. I can say in the game industry, I wouldn't say I have any like individuals as role models that I was growing up towards, just because, admittedly, there was no one I could necessarily like relate to directly back in the day. But there are definitely like games, like works of art, as far as video games that I looked at. I was like, I want to make something like that. So a lot of the games that I played, whether they be like party games or sports games, JRPGs. There's a lot of influences I take from games that I used to play growing up.
Okay. How about you, Ahmed?
As Close said, pretty much the same thing. So there weren't a lot of influences in the industry as far as folks that we could look up to, and we're creating games that I guess we felt we could relate to. So, and my inspiration comes my family, including my brother. So, I mean, we're pretty much a team. So if he's moving one direction, I'm moving with him. So that was pretty much how we operated when it came to just education, our passion for games and creating games. So we're very family oriented. So we try to lean on each other for any inspiration and just try to find success.
So I'm assuming your family was a big part in also being supportive in your endeavors to get where you are now. Is that correct?
Yeah, for sure. They didn't know what we were doing, but they're like, it sounds like you guys, I don't know what this video game stuff's about, but we support whatever you want to do because we worked full time at, I'd say, good jobs for sure, but it just wasn't our passion, and we wanted to always get into gaming. So we wanted to make that jump on the entrepreneur side and creating a studio, which was a lot, but ended up being something we loved and it's paid out. So.
That's really cool. Did you have any other hobbies and interests while growing up aside from playing games and also making your own games?
Yeah, for sure. We're big sports fans. We both actually like a lot of basketball, UFC. I played soccer. I enjoy playing basketball myself. Um, Also, just things like comics and movies. Big fan of like definitely the cinematic universes now. Um, Animes, all the lore, all those kind of things. So I think gaming was just something we like really attached to, but we definitely have an interest outside of it as well.
Yeah, between Khalil and I, there's not a lot you can't say that we don't touch. Like, I mean, we played sports growing up, but we're also nerds. So, like, you can name any type of nerd thing. It could be anime, it could be comics, it could be movies, it could be TV shows. Like, one of us between one of us probably watched it, has some interest in it. So we enjoy all sorts of things. It kind of helps us bring that into our world of games. So yeah, we have so many hobbies. But yeah, I played soccer my whole life growing up, so that's probably was my main focus other than gaming when I was growing up.
Did y'all win like championships or big
What?
competitions? Like
Yeah,
play
man.
professionally or
Oh, for games or for soccer?
for games
Soccer.
or and also for like other sports, not just esports, but sports.
I'm the self-crowned best player in Swimsanity, crowned by myself, and just want to let Khalil know live here. I mean, other than that award, no, I grew up in a town of a bunch of Portuguese folks, which were that's why I gravitated to soccer and taught me a lot on that side. So we were amazing at soccer and terrible in every other sport. So that was like the main thing we were able to get a lot of trophies in. But yeah, that's my experience.
Are we
That's
naming
cool.
accomplishments outside of gaming? Oh, sorry. Go
I mean, yeah, no, if you want to, feel
ahead.
free.
Accomplishments outside of gaming. I actually did Taekwondo when I was in like started around like middle school. I got my black belt around like 17, 18, something like that. So that was always really cool. Um, Outside of that, no, nothing too crazy. I mostly just play basketball on local gym circuits and stuff. So I feel like a champion there.
That's awesome. Yeah, I have a younger brother and he's super into basketball. He doesn't play professional or anything, but he does play a lot of 2K. So it is
Cool.
there. Yeah. So moving on to college, the college years, where did you both go to college? Did you go to the same college or separate colleges?
Yeah, same college. We're both into UMass Amherst. Went there to study computer science. I think I went 2004. Ahmed started in 2006. And at the time, game development like paths weren't really a big thing. So we just figured we'd get into computer science, and that would be like the closest gateway to game development. Nowadays, it's a lot easier to find like game development degrees and stuff like that. Game design actually have all different kinds of branches of them. But yeah, we studied computer science. That kind of gave us a foundation for software engineering.
That's cool. What about you, Ahmed? Do you have anything you want to add on to that?
Like I said, when I was going to college, I just copied whatever Khalil did. So I was like,
He
yeah.
was
So
your
yeah, he's like, just try this computer
guiding
science
light.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like, try this computer science thing. It seems cooler than all this boring business stuff. And I was like, yeah, sure. He's like, maybe create some like games out of it. So that's what we did. I just followed what he did, and it was a great decision because it built a foundation for us to start developing games.
That's cool. So while you were both in college, were there any opportunities that arose that you took advantage of that later like helped with setting up your game company or just in general like helping you on your path to game development?
Yeah, I think the key one was so by the time I got to my senior year, I was a bit disappointed because, I didn't feel like I learned anything that would help me towards game development. Like I learned a lot of fundamental stuff, but I didn't like most people who probably graduate college, they don't feel like they have like a specific skill that they can take right to the workforce. So it's kind of scary sometimes. I ended up finding this class that was like hidden on like the top level corner of like one of the buildings, and only like 7 people or so were in it. But it was a Flash development class. And in this Flash development class, one of the assignments was actually like create a game. So I got super excited about that. Super excited about the fact that I'd be able to start learning how game development even works. So I made a very simple Flash game for my midterm called Swimsanity: The Adventures of Scuba Diver, and it was a super simple, hyper casual game where basically like a scuba diver would go down to the bottom of the ocean, grab gold, bring it back up to his boat while dodging a bunch of sea creatures. And when I made that game, like the way the class was set up, they like you'd have your whatever you've been working on the computer, and like people can go and like play other people's projects and stuff. So we were able to, whenever I walked into class, I would see people playing the game, and that gave me like a feeling of, okay, maybe I can do this for real. Like maybe I can do this professionally, because now I'm seeing people like play my game without me like telling them or asking them to do so. So that class in itself kind of gave me the confidence to say like this is a realistic thing that I can do professionally if I stick with it. It kind of gave me the launching pad for that.
Very cool.
Yeah, and yeah, it was that Flash class. Same with me. It was we were able to create like a little game, kind of get a dip into game development. But by the time I got to that class, to be honest, Khalil was pretty much on his way to graduating, and that's when we were starting to think, okay, is there some way we can take what you do with Swimsanity Flash game and turn it to something we could put on consoles? So at that point, I was already thinking about how we can take the foundation of learning computer science and start creating games we can actually deploy to consoles, and what that journey would look like to actually be quote unquote game developers, which we didn't even know how to do that. So at that point, we started just do a lot of research and reading up books and going online and trying to figure out what it really means to be a game developer.
That's really cool. Now, I know you mentioned like business aspect of things that you kind of found boring, but like, did you take advantage of like any business courses or anything? Since were you even before college, were you planning on starting your own gaming company, or was you just mainly focused on game development?
Yeah, I found the curriculum of business boring, taking that as a major for me. But I love business in
Okay.
general. Like, so that was one thing that Cool and I shared, is that we really do love the business of gaming as equal as we do the game development. And graduating from UMass, we had jobs in software sales, which allowed us to kind of see the business and how it's run. So yeah, it was a huge part of understanding the business side of things. Because sometimes, especially as indie developers, a lot of times might focus too much on the game, and as soon as you're trying to make money on anything, it's a business. So you have to really think about a business plan, a go-to-market strategy, and just how you're going to fund and get the game out there. So yeah, we've during that research, a lot more of the research that probably took even more time than just figuring out game development was figuring out the business of game development, how we can like just get our game on these platforms. Who do we need to talk to? Who do we need to network with? What is the expense of that? So yeah, we definitely had a huge interest in that
Yeah. I know for me, when I was going through college and I was doing physics, I wasn't doing gaming development. But I went to a lot of conferences. Were there any like sort of conferences that were available that you could go to for this specifically for networking? Because I know that was mostly the reason why I went to conferences. But were there any meetings or things that you went to that kind of helped you connect with people that could help you later on?
Yeah, plenty of those. That actually was like our main strategy, because we felt very comfortable in front of people. So conferences like PAX East is a very consumer facing one, but a lot of industry people go there. Um, Even local ones like Boston Indie Games Festival, we went to Play NYC. If you go West Coast, you're talking about GDC, which is a game developers conference. That one, once you kind of acclimate yourself more into the industry, that's a great one to go to, because you'll get really a full spectrum of everyone there. There's PAX West. There's conferences like everywhere now, and I wouldn't be pressured to just try to jump into the big ones, because honestly, we got a lot of our connections in the smaller ones, such as Game Devs of Color and Harlem. Was actually where we were able to solidify our deal that we made with Xbox to appear on Games with Gold, because they had some Xbox people there. But it was a lot more personable, because there wasn't like 100,000 people at this conference. It was a 500-person show. Focus on people of color and dev, so we were able to have a real connection with the industry people that were there. So I encourage people to go to, especially the smaller ones, check who's sponsoring the event, and they'll probably usually send an industry person there, and that's your opportunity to have real conversations and hopefully progress towards your goal.
That's awesome. Yeah, do you have anything you want to add on to that, Khalil?
I'd probably just double down on you know, if you can go to showcases, whether they're online or in person nowadays, if you're getting started off, don't be afraid to go and ask questions if you have any. If you're looking to showcase, like Ahmed said too, you don't have to go to E3 or PAX. There's plenty of, you know, closer, smaller conventions in your area. So yeah, it's always good to start there and work your way up.
Cool. Now, moving on to the birth of Decoy Games, how did it start? How did you inspire? What inspired you to call it Decoy Games? Like, how did this whole process start?
Yeah, the process started really from, like we said, it was always something we wanted to get into while we were in college. I think Swimsanity kind of gave us the confidence and a starting point to work on. And what we did from that point after we graduated college was we took Swimsanity and we work on that year after year, and we get it up to a certain point. And what we do is once we get to a certain point towards the end, is we look at everything we did well, everything we didn't do well, and we essentially start over again with the new skills that we had. We keep doing this process over and over the course of what was like the first 8 years of us teaching ourselves how to make games because we didn't learn that in college in depth. So we would teach ourselves how to make games until we got to a point where we feel like we could do it on a professional level and sell the game and whatnot. All the meanwhile we were doing that, we also were working full-time jobs. So the thing that computer science helped us do is it gave us like a backbone so that we can, get a regular job. I don't know why I'm acting like game development's not a regular job, but get a job that supported us while we were into game development. Um, that would pay the bills. So we were actually in software sales for about 9 years working that full time. And basically what the job entailed is we would go around like creating demos for different software companies around the world. And we convinced them to buy the software for the company. What that allowed us to do is that taught us the sales process for software, from everything from like customer discovery to marketing to legal, all these different aspects that a lot of indie developers typically don't have. So all the while we were teaching ourselves how to make games, we were also teaching ourselves like the business and the sales side of selling software as well. And that all kind of came together for like the perfect combination of starting an indie game studio. And I'll let Ahmed kind of chime in on the Decoy Games name part of it.
Yeah, Decoy. Let's see. I mean, sometimes Chloe and I just say different things, but Decoy Games did sound really cool. But no, we think of ourselves as Decoy because even when we started, we're just us two in like in the nucleus of creating it. We always wanted to be seen as something a lot bigger. So while in the forefront it looks like we're just a small studio, we do produce really high quality products that are typically produced by a much bigger team. So we feel like we serve as this decoy to a bigger goal. And we always want to deliver these innovative, high quality products. And as our studio keeps growing, we always want to kind of take people by surprise. Who's the real people behind this? That's what we put into every project we do.
That's cool. So, out of that process, what was the most challenging aspect?
Uh, Release was really tough, especially during the pandemic. So just timing wise, it all happened right during the pandemic. We were on a really nice roll of marketing, going to all these conventions. And convention we went to was PAX East in 2019. It was literally like the first case of COVID happened in Massachusetts the week we were in PAX. I remember it was announced while we were there. It's the first case of COVID in that state. So it was literally, I mean, days after that, we're all in lockdown. So, but we had all these conventions and marketing opportunities lined up in person. And our game was releasing later that year. And that's how we were using that to build momentum. So we had to really shift how we're going to push our game out there without meeting all these people, making all these connections to set up these marketing opportunities. So that adjustment came pretty abrupt. And then also just releasing a game to the masses, it's really hard to test that. So we struggled in trying to make sure our testing was well. So if like 100,000 people go and play the game, it's hard to test that when you only have a few people on the team. It's you can't simulate that type of influx of players online the way that we approached it. So it was a good learning experience. We got our stuff stable, but that was definitely one of the challenging things to like just try to set ourselves up for that type of release.
Okay. So I'm curious about the game development process itself, and I guess we could use Swimsanity as the example since that's your big game. And you said that it's initially started as like a project that you did in college, but you expanded upon that to be the game that it is today. So what did that process look like? What are like the stages of game development? Using Swimsanity
Yeah.
as the example.
I think like one of the key things, it sounds kind of redundant, but I mean, you have to make a good game. Like if your game isn't good, like you're not going to be able to market your game. You can't sell your game. People aren't going to want to play test your game. So we just had to make a quality game, and that took a few iterations just to get to a really good, simplified game loop that people can pick up and enjoy. So that took a lot of us doing development in house, also us holding some private tests, and then kind of taking it out to the public and then refactoring things and stuff like that. So once we had a product that we knew that we needed, we would then start to kind of leverage our networks that we gained over the years. So like anytime we'd go to a show, whether we were showcasing or just going to talk to people, we always got people's information, got cards. You know, sometimes the people would be other indie developers, sometimes they'd be related to studios or animation studios or distributors. And, you know, we tapped back into those networks and said, hey, we have a pretty cool game we want you to see. Is there anything that we can do to, you know, showcase this, whether it's getting to bigger showcases, whether it's putting it in different streams and such. So we tapped into our network, just kind of like one thing after another. After building those networks, we ran across some different like opportunities. So I think one of the bigger opportunities that we got that really kicked us into the scene was the Nindy Showcase, which we kind of worked through one of our networks, the Nintendo Direct of 2018, I think it was, which opened up our network even more so. Um, but yeah, that's kind of like the high level steps of like the game process there.
Okay. Ahmed, do you have anything you want to add on to that?
No, I mean, cool covered it for the most part. Just make sure, as we say, it doesn't end with development. Once the game is done developing, that's not the end of the development process. You got to get that game out there, market it, and sell it too. So that's also good.
Okay. What's it so because the game is now on several different platforms, I'm assuming that you had to go in and make sure that it was like they had that cross compatibility between the different platforms. And like as far as coding wise, like how difficult is that?
Yeah, no, that was definitely another difficult part. When we released Swimsanity, believe it or not, cross-platform play was just becoming kind of opening up to more developers, and we were one of, I believe, 15 games released that only supported cross-platform play between all of the platforms online. Um, and this includes like we're in a category of like Fortnite. I think just became cross-platform at that time. So, but it was always something we wanted to do. So, um, for one, there's the business side of making sure that you kind of organize all of and contact all the businesses to make sure that Nintendo, PlayStation, all that is all aligned on that vision. And then, secondly, from a technical standpoint, we built our game on Unity. So Unity game engine is a cross-platform engine. So from that point, we were good. But there's like a whole online framework that we used that thankfully already supported this cross-platform type of play. So we let them handle that crazy technical stuff on that layer. But we did have to make sure we're testing on different ways. So if you knew you're going into that design early on, it makes it easier. It's harder to kind of flip the switch in the end, but thankfully, it was something we were already always preparing for, and we just timed it. I think timing was on our side to have released it a way that everything was supported. But it was definitely a challenge, but it worked out really well.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah, I can't imagine um having to go through all of that. But it's really cool that you're able to accomplish that, especially being one of 15 games that is able to have that cross compatibility at that time. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So moving on to your day-to-day lives and your career, what's your favorite part of your job?
I personally, I'd probably say two different things. I like the game design phase because it's kind of the phase where you can throw all your crazy ideas out on a piece of paper, no matter how good or bad they are, and kind of seeing something start from essentially nothing and kind of come into form when you have multiple people putting those ideas out there. So I always love that stage because it doesn't last forever. So I don't take it for granted. The other stage that I would say is like, you know, when you're actually like testing your game, or I guess I should say showcasing your game to a point where like people are enjoying playing it, without you like being like, hey, come over here and play my game. Like it's a cool feeling to like see people like playing your game, enjoying it with other friends and stuff like that. And it's like it's a very rewarding feeling. So it's kind of makes the whole like years before that worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with those two exact things: the game design, and then when you're able to showcase it to people and see the reactions, it's really cool.
Do you still make like paper models? Or is it more sophisticated now?
A little more
A little,
sophisticated.
yeah, yeah, a little more sophisticated now. Not that paper models are bad. I mean, if we had some whiteboards and stuff, we would be whiteboarding. But yeah, I love a good whiteboard to kind of design off that. And they have some great like whiteboarding digital tools out there now. So yes, it's a little more sophisticated in those days, but yeah, same idea.
Yeah. So what's the most challenging part of your job at the moment?
Hmm.
The-
Um. Go ahead, Chloe, if you got some.
I don't know if there's like one most challenging part. Honestly, like one of the reasons I like what we do so much is because there's new challenges all the time. So like the last job I was doing full time, like you kind of knew what challenges were coming down the pipeline and like what exactly those would be, and it was super predictable and it just got stale. So like with game development, especially like being able to see everything from the top down, there is literally like a new challenge every day, every week, and it makes it so that when I wake up the next day, like it's fun because like it's not like bad challenges. It's things that kind of allow us to grow, but it keeps it exciting. So there's something new all the time, but it could be different things from project planning. It could be something such as like development challenges. It could be something on the business side from like a budget standpoint, or there's just always something that's different that you're working into like the end goal that just keeps it really fresh.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, I think there's new challenges every day, which is they can be more difficult than others, but it's that is the cool thing. I like the challenges. We take them on. It is always something different all the time, so it keeps it fresh.
Is it pretty much like accomplishing the daily quest in like
Pretty
your
much,
Yeah,
yes.
favorite
Yeah, we should
RPG?
be at level 99 at this point. The amount of quests we've developed.
That's really cool. So speaking of that, like what's your typical work week like? Is it pretty hectic, pretty chill? I guess it depends on whatever stage you're at with the project.
Yeah,
yeah.
so on this project, we are finishing up our concept phase. We're about to enter our prototyping phase. So on a week,
Ooh,
we have we like to call two different teams. We split up our devs and our artists, and basically they work on these like 2 week kind of sprints we call them. So basically they have set of tasks and they complete them. So Khalil and I need to for one manage their work, also manage the design, to manage the focus of the roadmap there. So our day is mostly first half of the day. I'd say it's meetings to kind of sync up with the team. Second half of the day is a mixture of Khalil and I like combining and doing work, and then also maybe if some meetings pop up to kind of do some extra design work or the challenges, as you say, uh, that would come up kind of later, be solved later in the day. But I'd say that's pretty much our day to day. It's pretty organized. I like the organization of it, but yeah, that's I'd say a good overview of it.
And then we eat dinner and play games at night. So
Pretty much.
That does move me into my next section of, do you still partake in the same hobbies that you did as children?
of course, yeah, that was the plan. It's
Yeah.
that's what we still
Yeah.
stick to. So yeah, I literally on the other side of my computer, I have my Series X and my PlayStation, everything hooked up. So like right after work, I just close this and I'm right at it.
A
Yeah,
PlayStation 5?
I don't have the five. I got the
I
Series
got the
X.
five.
I'm like
Okay.
I don't have anything against the PlayStation, but it's always been my backup console to Xbox. No shade.
Oh, okay.
We'll stay there. I got the PS5, the Series X. Took a while to get both, but um, yeah, I mean, our hobbies. We wanted gaming to be our hobby so bad we had to make it our job. So yeah, we always try to make sure we're doing something we love, but gaming just had to be at the forefront of that for us. So
That is really cool. We're getting close to the end. So I do have a big question for you. Is this is part of your mission? So what does having African American representation in games mean to you, or
Yeah,
just in the gaming industry mean to you?
I think when we first started asking the questions, like one of the things that I said was that, when you're asking for our role models, or I said it was my family. I didn't really have anyone in the game industry because like I literally couldn't name you like a big name back then that was so public that I would like just know about them being a gamer. So I didn't have any like live role models in the game industry who like looked like me, talked like me, like I could relate to or anything like that. So even with like my family, like getting into the game industry was like a long shot. It was like talking about like I want to become an astronaut and go to the moon. It just wasn't a normal thing. So diversity in the game industry to me is normalizing that, making it so that it's not so out there for us to take on any roles, and that could be anything from a game developer to an artist to a game project manager, voice actor, whatever it is your specialty is. Opening up those doors so that it's normalized for everybody, so that we become prominent faces, and also so that when we become prominent faces, it's not a story. So it should just be a normal part of the industry.
yes, well said. Yeah, I mean, being African American in game industry to me is finally getting the opportunity for us to become creatives in a space that we push the content. Um, Being able to finally be the ones that we are kind of creating ownership on just an industry that flourishes off our culture. We are setting the trends on what is the next cool product, just like in any other industry today, whether that is the dances that appear in Fortnite versus the fact that the top games are sports games where we're predominantly featured versus just the content creators that are out there that are showcasing what is great. So it's finally be able to be on the creative side, so it can bring stories the same way that the movie industry is able to finally bring some stories created by Black movie directors. We need to be able to do the same thing now in the gaming industry, but not just at an indie level, but at a level where we're actually getting funded and actually being funded the same way that others have been in the industry. So it's opening a door so people can see, hopefully, people that are in this industry, we want to be a part of that are doing these type of things and making these type of games, so that when kids are growing up, they can see that and say, okay, I can enter this game industry and be able to produce these type of products. So it means a lot. It actually means equally as much at us to making a successful game as for us to also build successful paths for others and for other people from marginalized communities to feel like they're included in this very awesome industry.
That was beautiful. Thank you both for those thoughts. And I do hope that we do get more representation in the gaming industry, and especially in games, because I've seen like what that does now and like what the future will look like with that. It will look so much better. And
For
hopefully
sure.
when I be able to ask that question to someone else, they could look to you as role models um, as they get inspired to be a part of the gaming industry. So my
For sure.
last question is, what advice do you have for the middle schoolers and high schoolers that are watching this or will be watching this when we put this recording up, about being able to follow a similar path that you both did to where you are now?
Yeah, I think Ahmed would probably say the same thing, but we always say, because we do when we do talks and stuff at schools, it's just start now. Um, the advantage that a lot of younger people have that we didn't have when we started is that there are so many tools out there for free, that you can literally download right now to start developing. Whether it's something on like the Unity game engine, Unreal game engine. There's so many free tutorials out there on just how to like start doing game development from scratch, even like coding tutorials, whatever it is that you're into, art. You can get started right now. And yeah, I think that a lot of people kind of hesitate because they think that it's such a larger than life thing. But even something like getting a square moving from left to right on a screen is a big accomplishment. So start now. Ask questions. Even us, if you need to ask us questions, our channels are all public, so we're always willing to help. But yeah, just get started now.
Yeah, for sure. I 100% agree. Get started now. Find developers in your area. They are out there. Go online. Use them. Start showing what games you're working on. They'll be happy to play them, and just take it step by step. And if you do want to sell games, build a business plan. Treat it like a business. So I always say that anytime you're trying to make any type of money off something, you are creating a business. So definitely follow those steps and make sure you have a plan so you can achieve what you want to achieve.
Also, you don't have to be a game developer to be in the game industry. There's so many positions for so many different kind of roles. Like I said, artists, voiceover, project managers, marketing. It's just like any other business. We just make cool things. So yeah, whatever it is that you want to do in the game industry, there's more likely than not there's an opening for your talent set. So don't think you have to be a game developer to get into the game industry.
Mm.
Well said. Well, Khalil, Ahmed, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your story with us and for giving us insight into the world of game development and the gaming industry in and of itself. To everyone watching, thank you for spending your time with the National Museum of African American History and Cultures through the window and into the mirror, a career conversation series. Thank you all for your participation, and please remember, history is made by doing ordinary tasks extraordinarily well over long periods of time. Before you sign off, take time to complete an evaluation form for this interview session. The link to the evaluation form is posted in the chat. If you have time, please take 2 minutes and fill it out. Thank you very much. Stay safe and have an amazing weekend. Thank you.
Later, y'all.